people that are talking with double voices. There's a lot of weird things that happen when people go through these deliverance sessions, man, and they feel, if it's done successfully, they feel a release. They feel like something left them.
Uh-huh.
There's people with baggage that they've been having since they were a kid. People have been molested and abused, and they could be up there in age, and they've been carrying this hatred and anger towards their father or their uncle or something like that, and then they release it at a certain point. They feel a heaviness leave them, and so there's just all of these oppressions and things like that, and it works in very practical ways. It's like I said, they work in vibrations and thought patterns, and what the Bible calls strongholds.
Uh-huh.
And it talks about taking all of your thoughts captive, so that you are very picky about the thoughts that you entertain within the day.
Yeah.
Because if you start entertaining stuff that's demonic in nature, I mean, I know a lot of these people, like all the serial killers, one thing that they had in common is that they all had this overwhelming addiction to pornography.
Uh-huh.
And it would just go deeper and deeper with what worked for them, whether it was just regular porn, and then it got into some deeper stuff and hardcore and just all types of crazy stuff, and it would mess with them. And they would feel dirty. They would feel tampered with. They would feel used and things like that. And they all had this kind of stuff. So it's something with the things that you entertain, to be careful. They talk about the eyes and the ears being the windows to the soul, and what you let in and what you entertain. I know King David, he says in the scriptures, he says, I made a covenant with my eyes that I may not behold any evil thing, and not even look upon wickedness or things like that, because it becomes a part of you. The things that we behold, we're not the same. When we see this stuff, there's absolutely a desensitization from a lot of this stuff that we see on television, in our day to day, and what's the cultural norm and what's the standard. I mean, the stuff that we see here, and then we look at the extreme people in the East, like they don't even let they put shrouds upon their women, and so for them to, like, that's their norm, and for us to be putting this stuff all over television, Madonna, Katy Perry, all of this stuff that's all over television, but that's our norm. And when this kind of stuff becomes normal to you, it definitely is messing with the degradation of a culture. And so some of these spirits here who were once foreign spirits, now it's okay. It used to be out the blue, out the box for a kid to cut themselves. You say, hold on, this kid needs help. All the teenagers do. It's normal. They talk about it openly. You wouldn't want to talk to somebody about that, but they have conversations. They do it together. And these kids are getting up with each other, cutting themselves and stuff. It's something that seems so foreign, but I think a lot of these spirits even are here within the culture, and I think they found a home here in America. They've left, some of the other nations, and those seven spirits stronger, have found a home, in whether it's modern pop culture, and we see what's going on with like entertainment and stuff, and there's just so many layers to it. And I think that everything is spiritual. I think that there's spirituality behind it all, and it can be used for good or bad.
Well, you mentioned like Madonna and Katy Perry and stuff like that. Look at Madonna. I mean, for every good thing that ever happened in her life, she probably had 3 or 4 bad things happen.
Yeah.
And I think,
she paid for it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, if you want to maybe give up your soul to be rich and famous, you're going to pay the price one way or another. I mean, you're going to, I hate to say it, I mean, for what little happiness that you'll get out of it, you're going to have more hell in your life than you are, heaven.
Well, it's kind of like making the pact with, the devils that we're talking about, and these people who don't know that when they get into it, these demons are going to come looking for their pay. They give you this limelight, they give you all this stuff. I mean, we're just looking at it now, like all of the stuff that's going on with like the whole Harvey Weinstein thing, and these women who were in Hollywood, and I thought it was normal. Like I remember watching so many television shows and movies when I was a kid, and all the plots of the movies were about the model who had to get with the executive, and if she did, she got the role. come walking out of the room, she has the role. And now we're acting all surprised and stuff that everybody's coming out and saying that all of these producers and actors and all of this stuff have been doing these things. It was part of it. Like they, have to do certain things to get those roles. It's not free.
I know. You're going to have to.
It comes with a price.
Yeah, you're going to pay
Time
for
to
it.
pay the pipe type deal, definitely.
Yeah, there was a famous actor in the 1920s. I can't even think of his name, but he was into, porn really heavy. He would have orgies at his, mansion. And then they would have like sacrifices with goats and all this stuff. He was really into the occult. And then one day, I guess one of the actors wannabes, end up dying from one of his little things he was doing with a group of people, and it all came out. And I mean, here was a guy who was at that time very, very famous. Had all you could ever want in wealth. He had fame naturally because he was a famous movie star, and it all came tumbling down. And I think it was probably the time that the devil said, "Hey, you got to pay for what you've gotten. So I'm going to take your soul, and you don't have a soul anymore. It's mine." And the guy was destroyed. Totally went to prison, and I think he even died in prison, and he was so disgraced. I mean, and he was really into the witchcraft practicing.
Yep, they come to collect eventually. Like you can't run from it, you can't prolong it, and it's sad to see like some of the celebrities who they can't age gracefully either. That's a big thing where they all were at a certain level of fame, and then they don't want to lose that. They'll do whatever they can to stay at that level, and even when they start to age, they start shooting plastic and chemicals, all in their face, and their faces begin to change, and you can tell and stuff, and they're just holding on to what little bit of fame that they have, what makes them feel alive, and if they feel like they're out of that limelight, then nobody cares, or that's what gives them their worth or something like that. And so that's the big thing is like people, finding their worth in that and letting that stuff define them, and it's scary, man. We look at, we can, even in the Christian realm, with the same thing. You look at, Tammy Faye Baker. We look at, what was her name, Jan Crouch, and these women who had all in there. Even the preachers, like the different women who are on television, they're all getting their faces shot up too, and they want to look right, and they can't age gracefully. They all want to they're trying to hold on to this youth or whatever, and it's sad to see, but like. It's the fame, it's the limelight that they're just addicted to.
Oh yeah, and you talk about like the one. I mean, look what happened to her husband. I mean, going to prison and everything like that. I mean, but I used to
Jimmy Swaggart,
and the Baker.
Tammy Faye and Jim Baker.
Yeah, I remember watching faithfully. Their shows. Of God. And then all of a sudden it came out he wasn't the person he was. And when during his trial, he said he was possessed. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I was telling you my story about the whole being possessed by these demons and things, and I called all these churches wanting somebody to come and pray with me. And I had one church that called me back, and that pastor came out. Well, that pastor started bringing us to church, and he'd come pick us up, and me and my girlfriend bring us to church, bring us to Bible study and things. My car was messed up at the time. And so I ended up moving away. I was living in Louisiana at that time, and so we moved back to Alabama just after we became Christians, just a couple weeks after. So we was only going there a couple weeks. And so I would go visit family in Louisiana. So we'd go back every couple months, maybe 6 months, 3 months, or whatever. I'd go visit my mom, my sister, grandmother. And then that Sunday, we'd want to go to church. So we'd want to go visit the church we used to go to. So we'd go back there, and the pastor would have me stand up and acknowledge me. And, yeah, Derek's in town. He's come to visit. Hey, everybody give him a round of applause and, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So we'd go back home, and then 6 months later, we'd come back and same thing. And it was a charismatic church. It was It was kind of weird, but it wasn't nothing too crazy. You know, I've seen all that stuff before, people dancing and tambourines and stuff, you know. And then a couple more months had passed by, maybe another 6 months. We go back to Louisiana to go visit my family, and I go by the church to see what time service was because I wanted to go visit and go to church there. And all of the times are scratched off of the door. They had it on there. They scratched it off with a razor blade. And they had a sign up that said service by invite only. And there was cardboard on the windows, like cardboard and aluminum foil blacking out all the windows. This is strange. So
yeah, that's real strange.
I go to my grandmother's house and I get in the phone book. I try to call the church, no answer. I wanted to go so bad, I started calling all the pastors, or calling people who had the same last name as the pastor. It was a small town. I figured family members went there. I was like, hey, did you guys know what time service starts? And they said, lose my number. Don't ever call me again. Well, we didn't go to church. We went and visited another church that Sunday. About a year and a half, 2 years later, my mom comes in town to visit us in Alabama. And she said, did you guys hear about that church I used to go to? I said, no, what happened? She said, well, the pastor, you know, they got caught performing satanic sacrifices and molesting children. I said, what? She said, yeah, they were molesting children. They were doing animal sacrifices and worshiping Satan in the church.
Oh, wow. Now, Now, I'm just wondering if you know, while he was doing his normal, you know, preaching to God, if he was actually picking out people that he could, you know, kind of bring into Satanism. And
that's what came out. They you know, that's what came out. They said that he would find people who were unstable, who were maybe addicted to drugs, and he said they would pick them up and bring them to church. And I look at my story, like I'm in that story. Like he would come and pick me and my girlfriend and bring us to church and bring us to Bible study and make you feel welcome. I never experienced nothing like that. I was only going there for a couple of weeks. What we've seen was just a regular charismatic Christian church. My mind, I don't know how do you transition from that. I don't know how you transition from we're doing regular church service to, okay, you know, they got into, and this was people who were, you know, high up in the, like there was people who were police officers and sheriffs who were in teachers. Like they would all trade their kids out, and they were molesting each other's kids and doing animal sacrifices and drinking blood and crazy stuff. Like, how do you go from having a Sunday church service to this is what we're doing, and all of these people being on board with it? That's the weird thing. And actually, the church, if anybody wants to look it up, is Hosanna Assembly in Hammond, Louisiana. And they ended up making a television show based off of this. It was the show with Woody Harrelson and the other guy. It's called True Detective. And they based it off of the Hosanna Assembly trial. Woody Harrelson and I can't think of the other actor's name. He's a big actor. They played two detectives, and they go through the case or whatever. So it was on CNN. It was on national news and things like that. I didn't experience anything like that, but it was very strange.
Maybe if you would have been going there longer, you would have. To me, from what you're describing, what he would do is go find people that had problems, emotional problems or insecurity problems, or a place maybe not to live, and he would bring them into the church, show them kindness, and then slowly, you know, bring them into the occult.
Yeah, that's what you do. Like a lot of people, I mean, there's a lot of cults who do that. You know, we look at Jim Jones, we look at all of these people who are into cults. They just start telling these people who have had bad lives and they've been told that they're worthless and they'll never amount to nothing their whole life. And here's this authority figure saying, hey, I see potential in you. You have a home here. You're going to be somebody. God has a plan for you. And you start telling people that who have just been degraded their whole life, they'll do whatever you tell them to do.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it on you know, I've seen it in big, even church circles and small church circles where I've had it happen to me.